Hello everyone, I'm N.Nəsrullayeva. Welcome to our English lesson. As you know, all of us are at home because of the coronavirus. So, stay home, be safe Azerbaijan. We are strong together. Today, we'll have English lesson for our first year students with our book, Speakout Pre-Intermediate. So, let's get started. The topic of our today's lesson is Unit 4. Great Minds from the book Speakout Pre-Intermediate. We will cover grammar of the lesson, vocabulary, and practice some writing. Our today's grammar rule is about present perfect tense form that doesn't exist in Azerbaijani language and makes difficulties for our learners. The structure of present perfect tense form is like subject plus auxiliary have or has for the third person singular plus participle to. Participle to of regular verbs is formed with the help of ed, which is added to the end of each verb. But irregular verbs make their participle to form in different ways, especially by changing their roots. For example, she has written the letter. I've done my lessons. Now we have some examples about present perfect with the use of ever and never. For example, I have finished the project. In contracted form, it will be I've finished the project. She has finished the project. She's finished the project. The negative of such type of sentences will be with the help of not or never. For example, I haven't visited Mexico, or I have never visited Mexico. She hasn't visited Mexico, or she has never visited Mexico. Question form for present perfect tense form is formed with the replacing auxiliary have or has and putting it before the subject of the sentence. For example, have you ever played chess? Or has she ever played chess? Short answers will be like, yes, I have. No, I haven't. Yes, she has. Or no, she hasn't. Use the present perfect to talk about past experiences without saying an exact time. For example, I've been to Warsaw. When we want to say an exact time, we use the past simple. For example, I went to Warsaw in 2007. Use ever with the present perfect to mean during your life until now. Never is the negative of ever. For example, have you ever visited Madrid? She's never been to a nightclub. There exist two spoken grammar rules for present perfect questions like have you ever? We can answer in two ways to such types of questions. The first is no, I haven't. The second is no, have you? For example, have you ever been to the Maldives? No, never. Have you ever been to Zurich? No, have you? You have got two exercises about this rule. The first, find and correct the mistakes. There is one mistake in each sentence. You should find this mistake and correct the sentences. Complete the conversations with the correct form of the verbs in the box. This is our second exercise. You should use the appropriate verb in its correct form, that is in the past simple or present perfect tense form, and fill the gaps in those small conversations. The second grammar rule is about the modal verbs can, have to, and must. Use modal verbs can, can't, have to, don't have to, must, mustn't to talk about present obligation. Use can to talk about something which is possible or allowed. You can use dictionaries during the exam. Use can't to talk about something which is not possible or not allowed. You can't park here. Use must, mustn't, have to talk about rules or things that are necessary. We have to study for our exam. You must return the books to the library before Friday. You mustn't chew gum in the classroom. Use don't have to talk about something that is not necessary, but it is possible or allowed. We don't have to be there until 8 o'clock, but we can get there earlier if we want to. Use he, she has to in the positive and he, she doesn't have to in the negative. She has to pay for the exam. He doesn't have to do any extra work. Now let's have a look to the exercises about our models. The first exercise, underline the correct alternative. You should underline the correct alternative in order to make the sentences true with the correct modal verb. The second exercise is complete the sentences with can, can't, have to, don't have to, must, and mustn't. Please pay attention to the sentences, to the words written in brackets. They are hints for the correct choice of the models in this exercise. How often do you give advice to your friends or to someone else? And which expressions do you use while giving advice? Now, let's have a look to the expressions that are considered correct while giving advice. I think you should. You should. You shouldn't. Why don't you? I don't think it's a good idea. Or I think it's a good idea. Find, write, or do. And now, examples with the use of these expressions. I think you should study more. You should hear her play the trumpet. You shouldn't be late all the time. Why don't you finish your homework later? I think it's a good idea to take some lessons. Find a cheap hotel on the internet. And while responding to advice, you should use the phrases like, that's a good idea. I suppose so. You are right. I'm not sure that's a good idea. Now let's make a small conversation with the use of these expressions. I think you should study more. You are right. Or, I think it's a good idea to take some lessons. I suppose so. The exercise about giving advice and responding to advice. Put the words in the correct order to make sentences. You should put those words in correct order, make sentences, and according to the second instruction, you should put sentences A to E in the correct order to make a small conversation. So that's all about our today's grammar lesson. Dear students, I've prepared a long list with the verbs do and make. The expressions have got definitions in front of them and example sentences as well. This list will be available for all the students of our group in your Google Classroom. At the same time, we will have a discussion during our Zoom meeting about the questions from Unit 4. Those questions are, have you ever made a speech in front of other people? Have you ever made friends with someone from another country? Have you ever made a meal for 5 people or more? Have you ever made a phone call in another language? Have you ever made a terrible mistake? Have you ever made a difficult decision? Have you ever done a project that took more than 1 week? Have you ever done something interesting with a group of friends? Have you ever done a dangerous sport? Have you ever done business in another language? Have you ever done well or badly in an exam? Have you ever done your homework on the bus? So, be so kind, be ready to answer all these questions during our next lesson. Dear friends, I hope this video will be very helpful for you. That's all for today. See you in my next video. Bye-bye.